I occasionally have people come to me saying that they need a new logo, and they're wondering if I do that kind of work. 9 times out of 10, when someone comes to me just looking for a logo, I tell them if that's all you're looking for, you should just go find someone on Fiverr. Because what I do is much deeper than that. Branding is not just about a logo or pretty colors or the right fonts. Those are important pieces of a brand. They are the visual representation of a brand, but a brand is so much deeper than that and so much bigger than that. A brand really is about how people perceive and connect with your business. And while the visuals are kind of their first impression of your brand, so they are super important. I'm not downplaying the importance of the visuals. And that is something that my company does. That is not what gives people the feeling of who you are as a brand and what you stand for. And a cool logo is not going to make someone decide to work with you. It's all those pieces underneath that set you apart as a brand, set you apart as a business, that are going to make someone decide, is this the brand that I want to work with or not? Today, I'm going to be breaking down 3 of the most common branding mistakes I see entrepreneurs make, especially my female entrepreneurs that I work with primarily. And most importantly, we are going to be talking about how to fix those mistakes so that you can make sure that your brand gets in front of the right people, resonates with the right people, and is attracting the right people into your business. Let's dive in. Hey there, beautiful human. Welcome to the Bold Women in Business podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Honeyman, a content marketing, branding, and web design expert and founder of Honey Be Bold. This show is all about helping you build the most successful and fulfilling business possible so you can make a bigger impact in the world. Let's dive in. Okay, mistake number 1 is focusing way too much on aesthetics and not enough on strategy and the deeper parts of a brand. If you ask most people on the street who know nothing about marketing, who are not business people, what is branding? They're likely going to say it's a logo, right? Nike's logo, that is their branding. Well, that's not really their branding. It is the most recognizable piece of their branding, but there's so much underneath the Nike swoosh that allows that brand to resonate with people and to be so recognizable. Now, most entrepreneurs are not that much different because most entrepreneurs are not marketing experts. They're not branding experts. They're offering whatever services they're offering or selling whatever products they're selling, and marketing and branding are pieces of that, but they aren't necessarily marketing and branding experts themselves. And therefore, they have the same idea that their brand is their logo. It's the colors that they use. It's the fonts that they use. It's how they come across to their audience from a visual perspective. Don't get me wrong. Visuals matter. The visuals for your business are the first thing that people see when they interact with your brand, right? They're going to land on your website or see social media posts from you, or if you do print advertising, your logo, your colors, your brand aesthetic is going to be the first thing that they see. And so it's super, super important. But your brand at its core is really made up of your messaging, your voice, the experience that you create, and really what sets you apart, why you exist as a brand. Those are the things that make your brand a brand. And you could have the best logo in the world. You could have the most beautiful brand, but if it doesn't communicate clearly who you are, who you serve, why you exist, it will not convert. So how do we fix this? We need to start with brand strategy before we can focus on the design. We need a clear understanding of who your ideal client is. What do you want to be known for? What are the pillars of your brand that your brand foundation is based upon? What makes your brand different from others? When someone is looking at your company, they are definitely going to be looking at competitors as well. They're going to be evaluating, is this where I want to be investing my money, my time, my energy? And they're going to be looking at other companies that do similar things, or even companies that do different things, but may help them solve their problem in a different way. So being really clear on what sets your brand apart apart and why someone should work with you is super, super important. The visuals for your brand should be a manifestation of the strategy for your brand, not the other way around. If you create a logo before you have figured out who you are as a brand, you're putting the cart before the horse. So we start with the messaging piece, which comes down to understanding how to communicate what sets you apart as a brand, who you work with, all of that into a clear message that comes through in everything that you put out into the world. So when we go through the process of a brand strategy session, this is something that I take all of my clients through. We sit down for 90 minutes to 2 hours and we do a deep dive into their brand so that I can build a clear brand strategy from that. I often refer to it as a brand therapy session because many of my clients have been known to cry in those sessions, because when you're doing something that's really mission driven, it can be really emotional when you start thinking about why you exist as a brand and who you want to help and what impact you want to make in the world. And so people tend to get pretty emotional with those. But when you go through that process, you come out of it and I'm able to help my clients have a clear understanding of their brand positioning statement. And that really, in simplified terms, comes down to I help whoever you serve achieve whatever specific results you're helping them achieve through your unique approach. So in my case, that translates into I help mission-driven female entrepreneurs build bold, conversion-driven brands through strategic design and messaging. That's it. That's what I do. That's how I do it. And that's who I work with. So that's mistake number one, is focusing far too much on the visuals, not enough on the foundation of your brand, the strategy for your brand, and how to fix that. All right. Mistake number two is inconsistent messaging. Messaging. Yes, I focus on it a lot. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but it's so important. If you are not clear on your messaging, you are absolutely guaranteed losing people, because if your messaging is all over the place and you're not clear on who you are, what you offer, what your unique value is, people are going to be confused. They're not going to understand why they should work with you, and they're just not going to convert the way that you want them to. So this often translates into posting randomly on Instagram without any clear themes or clear idea of what it is that you stand for, using different language across your website, social media, and emails, having kind of a different voice and tone in different places that are not consistent across the board. And so if someone sees something from you on LinkedIn or they see something from you on Instagram, it doesn't mean that you're going to post the same thing on those channels. You shouldn't. But if they're seeing two totally different brands represented on those platforms, it's going to leave them really confused. And when you're not clear on what you do or how to communicate that to people, that comes through in your messaging. And I hear this from people all the time. I'd have to go back and look through all of my sales calls notes to figure out what the exact percentage is, but I'm going to venture to guess that about 85+% of the people that I speak to in vibe checks, that's what I call my sales calls, are people coming to me saying, I know that I do something really special. I know that when I work with clients that I help them get great results in whatever it is that they're doing, but I don't know how to communicate that effectively. And so my messaging is all over the place. I hear this from so many people all the time, and lucky for them, that's what I focus on. That's my area of expertise, is really weeding through those confusing messages to bring that magic out and make it come to life, and make it come to life in a really consistent way, making sure that that brand comes through clearly wherever people are interacting with them. So how do we fix this? You want to define your brand voice and core messaging pillars so that you can stick to them. And those messaging pillars are going to tie directly back to your brand identity pillars. And that's part of the work that we do together in that brand strategy deep dive, is defining what are your brand's core identity pillars. And then that allows us to create really clear messaging pillars that tie back to that. And then you want to make sure that your website, your social media, your emails, and even how you speak on sales calls aligns with the same message. You want to keep your messaging focused on your audience's needs and their pain points, not just on what you do, but how you can help them. So here's my homework for you. I want you to do a brand voice check. Look at your last 5 Instagram captions, your website homepage, your last 5 LinkedIn posts, your email signature, wherever it is that you're communicating with people. Read through those and try to read them through the lens of an outsider, or maybe even have someone who knows nothing about what you do, nothing about the world that you're in, knows nothing about your work, have them read those things and ask them, do they all sound like they're coming from the same person or the same brand? And if not, it's time to refine that. And so it's really important to create a brand voice guide with a few go-to phrases and words that feel authentic to you, but also really getting clear on what is the voice and tone that you want to communicate to your clients. How do you want to come across to them? And this is really going to drive a lot of that consistent messaging. And if you're really not sure how to do this, I highly recommend signing up for my free mini course called 3 Days to Bold Messaging That Converts, which comes with personalized feedback from me. So you would actually submit a piece of writing or a piece of messaging to me, and I would give you personalized feedback. I send a personalized video to everyone who participates in the course to help guide you on your messaging and how to create that consistent messaging that you're looking for. So you can sign up for that at honeybebold.com/free. That's HONEYBEBOLD.com/free. Okay. Mistake number 3 is not positioning yourself as an authority. This is something that I unfortunately see so much more commonly with female entrepreneurs. There's this tendency to downplay your expertise, to feel like you have to prove yourself instead of showing up confidently. And that often translates into being really vague instead of clearly showing how you can help your clients. So many women feel like they don't have the space to stand up confidently for what they're able to do. They feel like they have to downplay their expertise. They feel like they have to be humble in how they present what they do. But people want to know that you are an authority, right? Before someone decides to fork over their hard-earned money to you and decide to work with you, they want to know that you are an expert in this area. And you're an expert in the thing that you are doing, but you have to show up confidently and show that to people. So how do we fix this? Own your expertise. Your experience and knowledge are so valuable and people need them. Don't be afraid to stand up and demonstrate your expertise. As much as possible, stop using phrases like I think or I hope this helps in your content. Be confident, be strong in your language. Really come back to your messaging pillars and think about how do you want to come across to your audience. My guess is you don't want to come across as meek or inexpert to your audience. You want to come across as an authority and really showing them that you are the right person for them to work with. So those pieces of your messaging, saying things like, I think, or I hope this helps, really undermines that authority. Share client wins and testimonials and case studies to prove your value. You do incredible work for your clients and you should be showing it. People want to see the incredible work that you do. So show that confidently. If you are feeling uncomfortable, kind of standing up proudly and saying, look how amazing I am, look at the things that I do, sharing client wins, testimonials, case studies is a way to have someone else tell that for you. Someone else is sharing the incredible work that you do. And finally, you need to be showing up consistently. To build trust with your audience, you need to be showing up regularly in their feeds and in their email inbox and wherever it is that you reach them. They need to see you and hear from you regularly and really get a clear sense of what you stand for, what you are an expert in, how you can help them. And the more that you can share that and demonstrate your expertise, the more they will trust you. So here's a little challenge for you. Share one piece of content this week that demonstrates your expertise. This can be a client result, it can be a behind the scenes process, or it can be a strong opinion about your industry. Sharing something that's a little bit subversive garners a lot of interest and people really appreciate that. And it also positions you as a thought leader. If you have some ideas that are kind of against the grain, I really recommend that you share those. Share them loudly and proudly because that is how you're going to stand out to people. If you're saying the same things that everyone else is saying, no one's going to pay attention. Branding is so important and should not be overlooked. Without clear branding, your business is not going to stand out, period. There's no way to stand out if you don't have a clear brand. But branding is so much more than visuals. You need to be focusing on the strategy first. You need to stay consistent with your messaging across platforms, and you need to own your authority. You are the experts that your clients need, and you need to stand up loudly and proudly and share that. Branding does not have to feel overwhelming. Small, intentional tweaks can make a huge difference in how your audience perceives your business. And it doesn't have to mean spending thousands of dollars on a really cool logo. Because again, the logo is just a manifestation of your brand strategy. And if you haven't done that foundational work, you could have the coolest logo in the world. It's not going to be effective. If you want to learn more about how I can help you refine your brand strategy, really get clear on who you are as a brand, and help you build out a super clear, impactful brand, reach out to me at hey@honeybeebold.com. I would love to chat. And be sure to come back for next week's episode, where we will be diving a little deeper into the branding conversation and talking about the difference between a personal brand versus a company brand. And when you're a solopreneur or a small business owner, this can get a little murky. So we're going to dive deep into that next week, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. All right, beautiful human, that's it for today's show. This show is brought to you by my company, Honey Be Bold, with music by Shmookalele. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on your podcast listening platform of choice. And if you can take 5 seconds to rate and review us, it really helps the show grow. And before you go, if you're struggling to attract and convert your dream clients, be sure to check out my free mini course, 3 Days to Bold Messaging That Converts, and you'll get personalized feedback from me on how to nail your messaging every time. Head on over to honeybeebold.com/free. That's HONEYBEBOLD.com/FREE to sign up. Thanks for listening.